DeSanto Propane is 4 generations strong as a trustworthy, family-owned business with unmatched customer service. Go online at DeSantoPropane.com for more info or call toll-free at 1-800-752-4574 today. Since 1937, the difference has been DeSanto Propane.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into Bills Weekly here on FingerLakes1.com. Paul Russo here with you. Jim Sinicropi, Kyle Evans as well. We are officially through all 3 preseason games. The camps are wrapping up, so a lot to kind of get to here to close things up and tidy things up on the preseason for the Bills. Jumped ahead of my notes here a little bit for what we got talking overall today, because we are going to look a little bit as well at the broader scale of the NFL this year before we get to next week, where we get really more in depth on the Bills going into week 1. And then we got a little bit of a Hard Knocks review also off the bat here, so plenty to get to. But first thing, a couple more of our sponsors, including Cafe 19, breakfast, lunch, pastry, celebratory cakes, pies, and catering, guaranteed fresh and always local at Cafe 19 in Seneca Falls. Also offering an assortment of beverages, including tea, coffee, and espresso drinks. You can check out their full menus and weekly specials at xixcafe.com. And Weston Company, diamonds and jewelry. Full-service, family-owned jewelry store serving Auburn and the surrounding communities. You can check them out online at westoncompany.com, or you can stop in and browse their selections at Genesee Street in downtown Auburn. Weston Company, crafting fine jewelry since 1982. So, guys, talked a little bit off air about the stuff we're going to be talking about today a little bit and everything like that. Figured first, though, Jim, I'll turn it over to you. You've been watching Hard Knocks a little bit here.
Well, I watched all 3 episodes last week.
Through the preseason. I'd say when it first debuted, 15 or so years ago, I guess, Hard Knocks, it was kind of on the front end of kind of giving a lot of people, I think, that back end look into stuff like that. Past few years, it's been through, I'd call it transitional phase of sorts and stuff like that.
Last time I watched it was the Jets season when Aaron Rodgers was there. That was interesting, I suppose. He got hurt the first play of the first game. Yeah. But
following the Bills this year.
Yeah, it's fun to see the Bills be featured that way. And you got to remember, this is like an international, audience on HBO. And it was cool seeing Rochester, St. John Fisher College, and areas in and around there in Rochester that we're familiar with living around here be shown. So that was one takeaway that was kind of worth watching. You might even see some people that make it out to training camp. There's a lot of fans.
Kind of sounds like you might have seen that happen a little bit.
I didn't, but somebody had to know these people.
Right.
But my biggest takeaway from it was that, Bills fans are so lucky to have Josh Allen. I mean, that guy is like the real deal in terms of genuine, wholesome, good-hearted, great guy to be around. Obviously, one of the most talented players in the NFL. And, humble, chemistry builder. Everything about it, watching those 3 shows and watching how Josh Allen reacts with his teammates, with the coaches, with the fans, it's just phenomenal. And so as Bills fans, really blessed, to be able to have a guy like that to root for. Mm-hmm. And I've always obviously been a big Josh Allen fan. But now even more so after watching that. And it wasn't anything I didn't already know, but when you see it on display, he was obviously featured heavily throughout the 3 episodes. And, it's really, Bills fans are lucky to have a guy like that, to root for. And I think that the general theme is like a lot of great chemistry, both sides of the ball. Again, coaching staff, players, it just seems like the Bills got that sweet spot right now in terms of, a franchise that's got a chance to win the Super Bowl. They're in like a good spot. Let's hope that their injuries, kind of remain at a minimum, and this should be a fantastic season. But any Bills fan that should watch it because it's just a little inside look. Not only Josh Allen, but really all the players. James Cook wasn't signed for the first 2 episodes. Then the third episode, he had signed and he was back at practice. Of course, they took a look at Damar Hamlin a little closely, and I just enjoyed it. It wasn't anything revelatory or groundbreaking, but it was fun to watch as a Bills fan, and again, like, so excited. Josh Allen deserves to get it done this year. He's kind of like right in his prime. There's probably a 5 or 6 year window where he's going to be in his prime, and it could be something really special for Bills fans who've waited their whole lives, to maybe see get to a Super Bowl. A lot of Bills fans have never seen him play in a Super Bowl. I saw him playing 4 straight. I wasn't a Bills fan back then. I was actually a Giants fan. But I feel like it's going to happen this year.
My question here for you, Jim, in terms of Hard Knocks is, for me, the past few years, the show in general, I've been kind of checked out on it. I don't know if I think it was just more or less the repetitiveness of it for me, where it's just like, okay, pro sports locker room.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
Blah,
it's
blah,
all
blah.
cliche and kind of.
But I was going to ask, how was it for you? You think this year in that sense? Only because I know, like, speaking of the Giants, they kind of messed it up. I feel like for a lot of other people in last year with the way the draft pick situation was handled and stuff like that and shown. So I know it's even been said a lot of teams were kind of more or less off at that point on even wanting to allow the cameras remotely around anything at this point. So what did it seem like anything for you? Like the Bills were maybe more open, less open, stuff like that?
I would say more open. You didn't see a lot of one-on-ones with the coaching staff, but you would see McDermott, addressing the team or talking on the sideline to somebody kind of incognito. And the Maxwell Hairston injury was documented. That was kind of upsetting. Tre'Davious White was actually another great part of it. He came back to Buffalo this year, and he just like fit right back in, and keep our fingers crossed that he can stay healthy because he's a good story too. But a lot of good stories going on for the Bills this year. Heading into a big season.
Yeah, a lot to look forward to. So appreciate that, Jim. I don't know if we have any other parting thoughts on Hard Knocks for now, but
I'd say watch it if you can before the season starts. It's on HBO, all 3 episodes. I watched them all back to back on Tuesday night last week.
There you go. Nice little binge session.
Yeah, not much else going on Tuesday nights in August, especially when you can't watch the Yankees because you have YouTube TV.
Yeah.
Makes me crazy.
Yeah.
Or the Mets.
Yeah. Looking forward to that in 2027 when there's no baseball period because of stuff like that. But different discussion for a different podcast. Anyway, let's just touch on this final preseason game quick. There's not really a ton to go over in the grand scheme of it. Bills did get the win 23-19. Josh Allen did not play first time in his career that he did not appear at all in the preseason. I'd say going into that game, that probably was the biggest storyline, and coming out of the game, the biggest storyline pretty much had nothing to do with the Bills, which I think if you're Buffalo, you'll gladly take and move on in that situation. So pretty ho-hum in that sense. I think a lot of the stuff now coming out of this final game, obviously, looking ahead to the rest of this week is who are we going to see make the final roster, the final 53-man roster going into next week. And I know for us, a lot of that discussion kind of more forms around the wide receiving core and stuff like that. I know going into, say, this episode, we were kind of thinking, all right, maybe it's Elijah Moore, maybe it's Curtis Samuel. Now it's a little bit I don't know if I would say more cloudy, that image, but I don't think the Bills are going to have a easy answer one way or another here in that sense for either side.
Yeah, I think Tyrell Shavers locked in his spot on Saturday. He had 2 catches for 24 yards and a really nice one-handed catch in the end zone for a touchdown. So I think he pretty much locked in his spot, and I think that kind of affects Laviska Shenault. Sorry, it's a weird name.
You're good.
So I think that kind of takes him off the roster now. I think last week I was kind of leaning towards him making it, but then I thought maybe a guy like Curtis Samuel, because he hasn't been on the field for either of the 3 preseason games, he was sick on Saturday, that he would be the odd man out, or they'd maybe somehow try to trade him, which would be very tough because of how much he is owed. But yeah, I think Shavers will be the 6th and final, and I think Curtis Samuel will make it as long with Elijah Moore.
Elijah Moore will make it too?
Yeah.
So
I think they'll go 6.
Who's not going to make it? If they go 6, you got Shakir, Coleman, Palmer.
Yep.
Shavers, Samuel, Shenault, and Moore would be 7.
Shakir, Palmer, Coleman, Moore, Samuel, Shavers.
Shenault.
Yeah, I don't think Chenault's going to make it.
Yeah, so it'll probably be either Shenault or Moore.
Yep.
But, God, don't you kind of wish it was Samuel?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't like that he's like barely on the field. You just don't know what you're getting.
Yeah, it just seems like, going into last year was a bad year for him, and now it's a year older, and we got some younger talent. But the wide receiver core as a whole is not like, groundbreaking. It reminds me kind of Kansas City in a bit, in that, you're going to have 5 or 6 guys that the talented quarterback's going to distribute the ball to. Some games, Keon Coleman's going to have 1 catch for 6 yards, and some games he might have 3 or 4 catches for 80 yards. And then, Josh Palmer seems like a guy who could stand out to be that consistent guy. But really the only guy on this receiver roster that's reliable, that's shown that we've seen before, is Shakir.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes the Bills and Chiefs unique. Like you said, they kind of spread it around a ton. Each game, a different guy could lead the receiving or even rushing. And I think you look around the rest of the league, you see guys are so focused on that number one.
Right.
And if he doesn't have those 5-6 catches for 100 yards, then it's a problem. Where these two teams, they can just spread it around and there's no issue.
It's funny, too, because if you think back to, I don't know, what is it, 4 or 5 years now, when the Bills brought in Diggs from Minnesota, and that was a big thing, is like the Bills need the number 1 guy, and they went and got Diggs, and everybody was excited. Now we're going to the Super Bowl, and that first year Diggs was great, right? But it really didn't last, and I don't think that a team like the Bills needs like a stud number 1 guy.
Yeah.
The number 1 guy is Josh Allen, so you give him a bunch of tools, and then you don't have a guy. There's probably nobody on this roster in terms of wide receivers that's going to be like in Josh Allen's ear, like, hey, man, you got to get me the ball or whatever. So, and again, during Hard Knocks, it seemed like they didn't really focus on the receivers too much, actually, but it just seemed like it was a loose atmosphere out there, on the practice field. And but yeah, it's a lackluster for a team, that we're talking about Super Bowl with. It's just a lackluster receiving core. But maybe we won't feel that way in the first week of October after we've seen some of these guys maybe break out. Hopefully, Josh Palmer or Keon Coleman would be the 2 biggest candidates, or Shavers.
My only pushback would be, I would say Kansas City did have a number 1.
Well, when about
Kelsey.
like Rashid Rice?
No, Kelsey.
Well, yeah, tight end.
Which, right, it depends upon the lens of which you view it, right? We talked about it a little bit last year. I do tend to believe you do need some sort of, maybe not number 1, but some sort of bell cow that you can go to and be that guy of sort.
Wasn't he Shakir before he got hurt, though? Wasn't
yeah,
he that guy?
Last year it was. I don't know, though, if Shakir kind of fits that quote-unquote traditional mold of it, though.
I think he's Puka Nacua. Just like I said, that injury last year kind of derailed what would have been probably a Pro Bowl type of season.
And
I
so,
didn't
go
include,
ahead.
I didn't include Kelsey, by the way, just because where was he last year, other than what, the Super Bowl?
Well, right. I was talking more in terms of just
On paper, yeah.
probably that broader viewpoint of Kansas City over the course of the past decade.
Well, then what about Dalton Kincaid? Can he step up and be a Travis Kelce type of?
That's the thing. They need more from their two tight ends.
Yeah. We didn't talk about really up front here either with the wide receiving core. We did miss it last week. It happened after the fact. They brought Gabe Davis back in just for a visit, and it looks like he is signing with Vegas in this scenario anyway. But I think it does show maybe the bottom of that wide receiver room is a lot more fluid than even we're maybe even thinking to a degree anyway. Where, sure, maybe let's just say, well, I'm going to just say Curtis Samuel just for the sake of the name, right? Say he is that last guy in for week 1. Maybe there is no guarantee for week 2 for him, hypothetically here. If something were to come up, the way I read that is they're going to still be taking a look at different guys here. If they think they can improve, they're going to go ahead and do it.
Yeah, I'd like to see Coleman break out and be the player that he was drafted as. And then Josh Palmer's most interesting to me in the fact that he was pretty good in San Diego last year in a team that was, kind of mediocre and middling. Now he's coming to Buffalo. Not that Hebert wasn't a good quarterback in San Diego. He's a great quarterback, but here it just seems like the opportunity for Palmer to become that reliable, number one type of a guy getting, 8 to 10 targets a game maybe is.
Yeah. I mean, the football analytics love Palmer. He's never been consistent enough to prove it over the course of now 17 games. I think it's there, but maybe it's gonna have to be we're gonna have to wait and see if he proves it at this point.
Yeah, from what I see too, he's a great route runner and he gets open. He creates separation. So if he can do that, I think him and Josh Allen could have a big year potential. I think it's actually an under the radar signing. If you go around the league, the casuals probably don't know who is Josh Palmer. Right. They'll probably say that, but really, if you look on tape and look at some of the games he had last year with Justin Herbert, I think he looked good, and I think he has real potential to be good. Now, Keon Coleman, like you said, yes, he has to have a big year. But based on what I've seen in preseason, I know it's preseason, but I still don't know if he's turned that corner. And that might be a problem.
Yeah, and are the Bills going to be willing to say, okay, well, our top 2 receivers are going to be Palmer and Shavers and Shakir, and then Coleman's going to be like, not on the field with the first team. Like, are the Bills going to be willing to do that if either Chenault or Shavers or even someone like Elijah Moore, steps up? Because Coleman was a disappointment last year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But sophomore year wide receivers sometimes do break out.
True. I think it just remains to kind of be seen, though, on that front, I guess. Kind of looking at it. And
it's going to be exciting. And the tough part is going to be a tough start for the receivers, going to Baltimore.
Yeah, very physical team.
It might be a more of a grinded out game, but we'll see soon enough. Actually, we'll have to wait longer than any other NFL team except for the 2 games on Monday night. Is there 2 Monday night games for week one?
One for week one.
Yeah.
They used to do 2.
I know. I'm surprised. Okay, that's fine. But Sunday night football.
That's okay, Jim. That only means we get
more Sunday red zone.
We get 2 more Monday night doubleheaders throughout the regular season then, since we are doing it on week 1.
Yeah, the Bills are in one of them. They're the 7:30 start in Atlanta. I forgot which week that is. You guys have the schedule?
I do. It's week 6.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Hey, maybe that's a good transition. Take a look at the NFL as a little bit of a whole here. Since we're going to be doing the hardcore Bills preview, obviously, next week going into week 1, kind of figured just take a look around the league here, what we can expect possibly from the rest of the Shield going into 2025. Maybe start here, guys. Feel wide open this year a little bit more so than a couple of years past here. Anybody can go out there and maybe get this deal done finally for one of their teams.
I don't think that's the case because I think the one thing that you absolutely need is a stud quarterback. Now, Jaden Daniels emerged last year, so I guess that you're right. Anybody who has a young quarterback, maybe Bryce Young could, do it this year for Carolina. But for the most part, you got your Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Lamar Jacksons, Jaden Daniels now. I think that you got to have that stud, quarterback. So, like, everybody's high in Vegas this year thinking they could be the team. But Geno Smith ain't that guy, right? He's a guy that can get him into the playoffs, but he's not a Super Bowl champion.
Game manager.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that there is I think the league is very balanced, so you could see a team like the Raiders or Chargers, or even like New England maybe with Drake May. Could Drake May be that guy? You could see these types of teams have winning seasons, but we're talking win Super Bowls. I think it's, like I say, Jackson, Mahomes, Allen, maybe Daniels. We'll see in his second year. Might be a sophomore slump.
We'll see.
Burrow.
The only one I feel like I'm like, maybe, like, the Lamar Jackson thing to me is interesting because I say we, it's more of a generalization clearly at that point. A lot of people hitch the wagon to him, and he's only won 3 playoff games. I'm not trying to be like he sucks. He does not. He is at worst MVP level quarterback, right? But my main thing with him is just for whatever reason, whether it's him, the people around him, don't know. We see a struggle to get over the hump with that team.
Well, that's one of the interesting storylines in the AFC, especially. Yeah. Okay, so you got Lamar Jackson, who's due, right? Who feels like he deserves one, and then you got Josh Allen, who's due, feel like he deserves one. And you throw maybe Joe Burrow in the mix if they can stay healthy and the defense is decent in Cincinnati. All these are guys that feel like this is their time. Mm-hmm. They put in their work and time, and now it's time for it to pay off for them. And then you got Mahomes, probably, who at the end of the year will probably sneak in there and win another one, right? Yeah. So it's Jackson, Allen are kind of similar type of situations, although I think there's more negative pressure on Lamar Jackson than Josh Allen.
Yeah, I do definitely think the Bengals are going to be better this year. Their defense was just, I don't think they'll repeat that. And Joe Burrow, I think, will have another big year. I mean, look at the receivers he has. Look at the offense that they usually are.
Chase Brown too stepped up for him.
Yeah, the Ravens, I mean, great regular season team. You just never know what you're getting in the playoffs. And the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They're probably at least AFC Championship game.
And it's like, why? They're all getting older and but it's Mahomes isn't a gunslinger anymore either. He's a game manager now, kind of.
And I'm going to mention the Denver Broncos. I'm not saying I think they're making the Super Bowl. I'm saying I think they're going to be really good again.
Sean Payton. Well, I mean, he's a guy that reshapes a franchise, and I agree with you. Bo Nix obviously is another guy who's entering their sophomore season.
The AFC West as a whole could be some sort of gauntlet this year of sort. I mean, I expect the Chargers to take another step as well this year. Second year under John Harbaugh or Jim Harbaugh, and they kind of are built more now for what they're aiming, quote unquote, to be in that offense that he wants to run.
We'll see. They got running back questions.
Yeah. But I would imagine the Broncos, there might be a little bit of a sophomore type deal with Bo Nix, but I can't imagine as a whole them being down either. Raiders, I think there's a lot of stock just being bought squarely because it's Pete Carroll with Geno Smith again, and I don't fully know if I want to.
They'll be good. They'll be better.
Right, but I don't know if I want to go all in on Las Vegas. But
this is why the NFL is fantastic. Yeah. Because we're sitting here talking about all these teams that might be able to, win it all, and all these great personalities and names. Like any other league that you go into the season,
as we conveniently not talk about the AFC South.
Right. Well, you never know. Like Trevor Lawrence for Jacksonville Jaguars could end up, breaking out and winning some games. I mean, it's every fan of every team has a little bit of hope, except for like maybe one or two, where like NBA or even MLB, when you go into the season, it's like, we got no chance, and it's a long season, and it's like, even if. So if you're a wild card team in the NFL, you still got hope that maybe you can make a little bit of a run because you're a winning team. But if you're like, one of the last teams in the playoffs in the NBA, baseball is different because it's baseball. But I mean, if you're a Pirates fan, or like you could take half the franchises in Major League Baseball, and their fan bases know by April 15th that they're not going to be contenders.
Well, the Colorado Rockies officially found out yesterday that they have been eliminated.
Wow.
And that was August 24th.
No, but hold on. I know what you're doing, Jim, and not to get too off topic, but last year the White Sox did it earlier in the year. So
earlier in August, I think.
Yeah, right? August. I think theirs was the
first week.
18? No, I think it was like the 18th. I think it was like a week or so before, but yeah.
Historically, one of the worst teams in the history of
when you're bad, you're bad in baseball. That's for sure.
In football, you can turn it around in 1 or 2 seasons if you get the right people.
Like the Steelers, right? Aaron Rodgers?
Well,
maybe. Who knows? That's interesting.
I had to get it going.
No, see, my main issue with the Steelers isn't so much, weirdly, the Rodgers deal at this point. I go back to something I talked about last year, and it's just a trend with them. I know how you feel about him, Jim. I just don't know if Mike Tomlin is actually all that great of a coach. He's a good coach.
Well, geez, he's a really good coach. He's a really good coach. Wins and losses are what it all comes down to. And he wins a lot of games over a lot of years. Never loses.
Well, it helps when you're 500 for the past decade.
A little bit above 500. But the Washington football team is a great example of what can happen in the NFL. They were borderline laughingstock 3 years ago.
Yeah. Culture shift there more than anything else.
Yeah,
obviously.
you get the right people in the right positions, and then you stick with it, and in a quick amount of time, you can become, a contender.
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously with the Bills, we probably are focusing more on the AFC side of things, and justifiably so up to this point. NFC is going to be interesting to me because I don't know about the East being wide open, but you can make a case for a ton of different teams, I feel like, in the NFC having a
is
chance.
Young.
Yeah.
In my mind, so you got J.J. McCarthy taking over now in Minnesota. You got Caleb Williams in Chicago. You got Daniels in New York. You got
Penix in Atlanta.
Yeah,
Young
and then
Carolina.
potentially Jackson Dart for the Giants if Wilson doesn't work out early.
Yeah.
It's
interesting that the Eagles, right, with Jalen Hurts, feel like an old team.
But they're going to win the NFC, right? The Eagles.
I would put them as odds on favorites, right? But it's crazy that they are a still relatively young team, but because of the people around them, it's like they're the old team. Weirdly, it's kind of crazy.
What about the Detroit Lions? I'm seeing here that they're the most bet team to miss the playoffs, according to ESPN Bet. That seems wild to me.
It's funny because people just get on a narrative, and it affects who gets drafted in fantasy football too. Where in the narrative with Detroit is, they lost Ben Johnson, he was the mastermind, and then they lost some key interior offensive linemen.
Aaron Glenn too, the DC.
Yeah, so they've lost a lot of these key.
But to still at least be a wild card team,
I think a lot of it is fatigue. You kind of see, look no further than the Kansas City Chiefs. To be fair, there is an element of fatigue when it comes to fans in any sport, where you just kind of get sick of teams being talked about, and you kind of just turn against them.
Frank Commander's second, by the way.
Yeah, no, but
that's wild to me too.
But that one's more believable.
I think they're making the playoffs.
Detroit. I think it's more believable than Detroit missing the playoffs.
What's going on with Terry McLaurin?
Yeah, great question. I don't know.
Sidebar there.
It's a fair. No, I don't view it as a sidebar because I think it's a very real thing for some of these teams. if you have the inkling that he could be available, if you're a team like that, Buffalo, like, why wouldn't you at least make a phone call and be like, what's like the price? You know what I mean?
Well, McLaurin,
You know.
like right now in fantasy football drafts, is going like in 6th, 7th round. He was like wide receiver 1 last year. So it's like, obviously he's gonna sign. Like these guys, 1 out of every 50 holdouts holds out into the season. And then it never works out for those guys.
No.
It seems.
No, but I think I don't know. We'll see. I think for Washington, trading away Brian Robinson before you really have to worry about the numbers, even though you're paying him against the cap.
I don't think anybody wants him.
It's tough, right? I
This
hate
time of year when you got all these running backs in camp.
Well, I hate doing the discussion in this way, right? But like McLaurin's 30 years old as a wide receiver. The money he wants, I don't know if it necessarily equates out to what you should be giving a guy who will. This will probably be his last big contract.
Yep.
But
he's been
I hate
and through all the bullshit in Washington, that guy's been like the adult,
right? No,
in
that's
the room, and I don't think that Daniels has the season he have, and Washington gets the playoffs without McLaurin. He was like a stud last year.
No, that's what I'm getting at is like I think you would just have to bite the bullet and
right.
do it because for 8 years he has never complained once, and for 6 of them he had to deal with Dan Snyder and the culture being damn good, And
then if he doesn't resign, then Deebo Samuel's your number 1.
Yeah, I have liked the way he's looked.
Yeah, he'll be great alongside McLaurin.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. I think let's take a viewpoint of like, say he doesn't resign, and next thing you know, Washington has no other option but to field calls on him because it's just a dead roster spot, essentially, right? Like, I think it opens up a lot of possibilities. A team, to me, say like Buffalo, should be a top priority to try and maybe get him.
They wouldn't pay him what he wants.
No, but you play the year out, and whatever happens, and I
hope he signs with Washington.
Yeah. Hey, that makes 2 of us.
Too good of a thing going last year.
Yeah, makes 2 of us, huh? So.
But yeah, the NFC's is less interesting to me than the AFC, and I just think that unless there's some Saquon Barkley gets hurt or some major injuries, that I think you'll see Philadelphia at least in the NFC Championship game. I'm a little down on Detroit a little bit, just a little bit. I don't think they're quite as good as they were last year.
Exactly. I think it's hard not to be anyway, just because. Not to say they've run out of gas two years in a row. I think it's kind of 2 different circumstances. Their endings of their seasons the past 2 years, but like.
But they're the only team in that division that's got like some experience. I guess Jordan Love and Green Bay is on the upswing, but you got 2 young quarterbacks starting for the other 2 teams that are totally unproven.
I think divisionally speaking, their saving grace is the fact that I don't think enough people are really talking about the fact Minnesota is going to be in a learning type year of some sort. That's my opinion, but. But it's hard not to be. I just, Jared Goff has had a really great renaissance. He's a good quarterback. Is he the guy to get you to the Super Bowl? Could be. He did it once in his career. So.
Long time ago.
That's the thing. They're at least going to get to the playoffs. Look at that offense.
Yeah.
Look at what they did last year. They just outscore teams.
Yeah.
They could be down 21-7 early on, and they come back.
Yeah.
Their defense can be terrible. They're still going to be a playoff team. This is nuts to me to think that people, unless there's an injury, a major injury, I think it's a lock that they're a wild card team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Especially in the
Super
NFC.
Bowl, I don't know.
Maybe not in the AFC, but in the NFC, yes.
Yeah. The AFC, though, I'm with you, Jim. So I'm just looking at all the AFC teams here right now, and I'm just going to do this by division. Realistically, from the West, I see 3 teams possibly. From the North, I see 3 teams possibly. I'll say this. God, I don't like buying into the Jacksonville because they just let you down every year. But
one team from that stupid division.
for sure, the South with one, maybe two. I don't
Maybe
know.
two, you never know.
The East with Buffalo is the same thing. I don't. We talked a little bit about it last week. I think Buffalo is the for sure East in that night. Maybe if stuff falls right for one of the other teams, I can see it, but I don't know.
I don't know. We could have this conversation
For the East,
week
for sure.
5,
Week, yeah.
and we could be like, wow, man, I didn't see that coming with the Jets. Like the Jets could maybe win their first 3 or 4 games,
Right.
and now all of a sudden we're talking about the Jets.
Yeah.
But remember last year how easy this was for the Bills? By like mid-season, we were like, oh, the Bills won the division. Now it's just a matter of trying to get the home field and number 1 seed maybe.
Yeah, I think it was week.
They started off.
It was like week 12 or 13. We were all on here discussing when we figured we would see Josh Allen for sure probably not play a game, like, because it was just such a lock, set in stone thing that they had the East locked up at the very least.
The division will be better this year, but the Bills are still clearly the best team.
Yeah.
It's not even close.
Yeah, I mean, I have a hard time imagining. Like I said, we talked a little bit about last week. I know you guys are pro Patriots. I'm actually leaning more on the Jets possibly being that second team, but I mean,
Never give up on the
especially
Dolphins.
well,
He was going to get hurt at some point, right?
more than likely.
But the roster's pretty impressive if the best case scenarios go for Tua, for Tyreek Hill, Jaden Waddle, A-Chain.
I mean, the Bills got all 3 in-division opponents in the first 5 weeks of the year. So we'll know, it's a good call, Jim, by week 5, kind of a little bit where things at least will stand in terms of what they need to do for those second matchups coming back around on the whip around. So
it's also interesting to think where we might be just a few weeks from now. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills lost on Sunday Night Football to Baltimore. I think they'll be favorites because they're home. Mm-hmm. But let's say that they do lose, and now they go down to New York in week 2 for a Sunday 1:00 game, and the Bills just don't do good at New York. Mm-hmm. So theoretically, they could be 0-2. And luckily, Miami and New Orleans would be coming up next, but it's the same. If you're a Bengals fan was it last season or 2 years ago, where you're thinking we're going to win the Super Bowl, and then all of a sudden 1 or 2 injuries, and they were like 0-4 to start the year, and they were done.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that was the 2 years ago, because last year was the year where they came out the gate so rusty that people thought it was implosion time.
Right.
So.
And the difference this year is Joe Burrow played the preseason. That's what their coach thinks.
Yeah, maybe the Bills Allen didn't play.
Yeah, we're going to see him for the first time ever coming off no preseason. So it could be a little rusty in week 1, but I don't always buy that either.
With a guy of his age.
I think it would be more so it's Baltimore's defense that would make him look
rusty.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to be so amped up to go. It's going to be Sunday Night Football. It's going to be home.
That's the biggest thing. If it was in Baltimore, I'd be very, very worried. I think they have a shot that it's in Buffalo.
And then, he's going to be doing crazy Josh Allen things. Remember last year when in the snow when he got the pitch out from
Amari Cooper?
Yeah, Amari Cooper pitched it to him, like stuff like that, or flipping over guys into the end zone for a touchdown.
Let's not be doing the flips already.
They got to do the QB sneak better. Remember how bad they were at that?
Yeah,
hopefully they made adjustments there.
Yeah.
You can't just keep going to the left side. The team's new every time.
Right.
It's the left side.
Yeah. Hey, but stuff like that, I think we can for sure table a little bit more to
preview next week, right?
Yeah. So, that's pretty much all I got. Should make note, the Bills did bring back Jordan Phillips last week. So,
Well,
it
was reported last night, and it's not official.
Well, within the last week, yeah. My bad. But so, Kyle, how do you feel about that? We talked a little bit off air about it.
It doesn't make sense to me. I didn't think that was a position of need, and they have. I don't know who's going to be the odd man out. I think Dwayne Carter, maybe one of their draft picks from, I think it was like last year or 2 years ago, could be the odd man out.
They'll keep 5, right?
Yeah, I think they'll keep 5. But
So you got Ed Oliver, Dwayne Carter, T.J. Sanders,
yeah, I think he'll stay.
and then Deion Walker and Jordan Phillips.
They're keeping all those guys, I'm assuming, on the interior of the line, right? I would assume.
Yeah, I would think. Yeah, that's the thing though. I don't know what they're thinking. There's so many. I feel like this year it's so wide open of stuff they could do. But the Jordan Phillips stuff, yeah, I mean, I like that he's familiar with the system. His 4th stint in Buffalo, which is wild. And I've always been a fan, so yeah, I like it. And it's a cheaper option too. He'll take the veteran minimum. So.
Depth on that defense has always been important. I think the Bills have learned from experience that they got to get deep. Even looking at the defensive ends, you got Russo, Epinenza, Landon Jackson, but Joey Bosa, I don't think he's going to make it through the season unscathed, right?
I mean, his past would tell you that he's not going to.
Yeah, and he's a year older now, and he was the big. So I would plan on him missing significant time at some point. If he didn't, it would be certainly against the odds.
I mean, the positive with Bosa, it's a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
Kind of,
But for this year, you're going to need guys to plug in. I mean, those are the edge rushers and defensive ends are probably one of the most important positions on the field for NFL defenses.
Yeah.
And we're still waiting for an update on Trey White. He got hurt, what was that, about 10 days ago?
Yeah.
He's been having MRIs and stuff, but I don't know when we'll get that. But, yeah, he might start on IR and miss the first 4 games.
Along with another cornerback,
Yep.
Hairston, the first-round pick.
Yep, those will be the 2 IR guys, I would think. And, yeah, their roster right now is at 84, and, of course, it has to get down to 53 by tomorrow at 4. So expect a lot of moves coming. Even today, we could see some cuts.
Total number of people being cut in the NFL this week, Kyle?
It'll be 1,184 players. And by the way, practice squads cannot be formed until Wednesday. So a lot of those guys will go there, but the 16-man practice squads will be Wednesday.
It's a lot
They can't, wave a guy and say, hey, we want you on the practice squad. Or they can tell him that probably, but they can't officially announce it.
Yeah, they can't officially announce it.
Yeah, so wait, look, right away, White might not be there for the opener. Hairston's definitely not going to be there. So now, your cornerbacks are Christian Benford and Turin Johnson, and one of those guys gets hurt, then you're looking at Dane Jackson or Dorian Strong.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they still make a surprise move outside in free agency and bring in someone like a veteran guy.
That was kind of what I was going to ask is, do we expect, we've seen, now mind you, it's been more depth pieces we've seen. Well, this is also the time that we see a lot of teams make some moves where they're moving for depth pieces for late round picks and stuff like that. Bills have obviously the option to go and do that potentially and stuff like that, but you never know. There's always usually a couple surprises that end up becoming available for these rounds of cuts and stuff like that. So,
and starting safeties in the secondary who Rapp and Bishop.
Yeah.
Are they the two?
Yeah, I don't know though because Bishop's been a big question mark.
So then you go to
he's been hurt and hasn't played a lot. That's why it's kind of scary, the secondary right now. You just hope that they, like last year, remember what they did? Whoever they plugged in, they just did enough to get the job done, but
didn't break.
Yep. And I think that's going to be a similar story, which again, it's not very comfortable, and maybe they can look outside and find a free agent. A guy like Rasul Douglas is still out there. And he knows the system. He played last year.
Sure, let's just bring Jordan Poyer out of retirement too.
Hey, I'd take him.
Now, knock on Douglas. I'm just saying,
I'm telling you, DeMar Hamlin is not good.
I think somebody's going to become available. There's always a surprise cut every year in the NFL where it's like, damn. And I just, I think somebody's going to become available and the Bills can go. That's
the biggest news is Tyler Bass is back, by the way. He kicked in that preseason game. Yeah. He missed basically a lot of training camp in both the first 2 games. So, but he did miss a 26-yard field goal on Saturday night.
Sheesh.
He made the first 3, missed the 4th.
Yeah. Well, if he struggles, we can always bring in Ray Davis.
I know, Jim, for me and you, I don't know if you've been keeping up with this. I know this is obviously Bills Weekly, but probably wouldn't be without shouting out a little bit here. Andre Schmidt looking like he might be the Browns kicker this year.
Yeah.
So a little Syracuse flavor coming back to the NFL.
I got another prediction for you. We talking about the Chargers and we're talking about Syracuse. I think Oronde Gadsden is gonna not only make the roster but have a big year.
You want to know what's funny? Is the only guy, those guys who got picked picked/drafted or signed after the draft, the one I'm more concerned about is McCord. Everybody else seems like they're in pretty good standing, at least to make practice squads. So,
McCord played good in the last preseason game when he got the start.
but Philly brought in Sam Howell though, traded for Howell to bring him in.
This is the headline. Kyle McCord and Dorian Thompson Robinson were so bad Howie Roseman had to find a QB.
Oh, wow.
That's the NBC Sports headline from the Sam Howell.
I'm concerned.
What about Meeks in Detroit?
The way it sounds, he's going to make it.
Yeah, everybody's high on the Tesla guy.
Yeah.
But Meeks you see what Meeks said a couple weeks ago? He tweeted out, like, I'm the greatest wide receiver in the NFL.
At the time he was. I know he was through week 2. I didn't see, mind you, the end of preseason stats here, but I know going into the weekend he was pretty much number 1 in preseason across every receiving category.
Oh, yeah, 7 days ago. I'm one of the best players in the world.
Yeah.
He's not technically wrong, but, it's an interesting thing to say while you're trying to make a team.
Preseason, 11 catches for 176 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So he must have played a lot to get those numbers.
Yeah, like he's a talented, obviously.
I know Dan
We
Campbell
saw him
loves
do
him.
it, and we've seen Gadsden from the first big year he had at Syracuse. I'm like, this guy is like an NFL player. So he's in a good spot in San Diego. I've actually been picking him up in the last round of some best ball DraftKings best ball drafts I've been doing. So that's my wild prediction: is that Oronde Gadsden is NFL MVP this year.
Whoa, MVP!
No, that he is actually a solid player.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of guys that are surprise releases, veteran cornerback Mike Hilton, the Dolphins just released him.
Really?
So you just never know.
Well, there's a guy.
Again, the Bills aren't going to bring in anyone flashy, but a guy like that, is that just a guy they'll plug in or at least bring in and see if he can compete? And
I would. They don't need the defense doesn't need to dominate for the Bills to win. The defense needs to be more than serviceable.
Yeah, you need guys who won't put you in the position of having that offense need to be back out there doing ridiculous stuff.
Yeah, at least make the opposing offense work for their points, and then give Allen and the Bills' offense a rest so they can come back in and match them.
Yeah,
and hopefully be a better run defense. Maybe not let Derrick Henry run all over you again.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully Milano stays healthy. Terrell Bernard, Buffalo Joe Andreessen is the kind of guy that just you wouldn't think you need to count on, but he can be an inspiration, kind of, if where other guys look around, look at this guy, if he can do it, we can do it.
And shockingly, Dorian Williams played well when he stepped in for both Bernard and Milano.
And Shaq Thompson.
Yeah.
Hey,
but again, you want Milano and Bernard to stay healthy.
Yeah. Did they even maybe played one game all last year together? I feel like they were when one was back, the other one was hurt.
Yeah.
So I think it's been a while since they've actually played consistently together. So hopefully this is the year.
Yeah. Hey, we'll touch all on that more next week.
Special.
I know. So Labor Day, obviously, a week from today. That means we will not be here, obviously. And if you are here, I won't be. So Tuesday, 10 a.m. The time will be the same. The date just one day later on down the line because of Labor Day. We'll preview the Bills season ahead and
resume our regular programming schedule of previewing and recapping.
Yeah.
There won't be any recapping next week, but it'll be a big preview.
Unless something absurd happens, which, if that's the case of a recap, then it's probably us talking about somebody coming in. Yeah. So Tuesday, 9/2, 10 a.m. Kind of crazy to say. Labor Day early this year, technically, in the line. But
yeah, and then it's ready for the season.
Yeah, so guys, appreciate you. Enjoy your last weekend without professional football until February first, second, something like that.
I got
can't
plans
remember.
every Sunday between next week and February.
Same with Kyle over there. I know that.
Sure, I don't
You're
miss
set up. You're set up, ready to go.
Red
yeah.
zone.
There you go.
Got a big fantasy draft Thursday.
That's
I got
right.
the
You
fourth
you
pick.
do.
Real quick before we
Have
go.
at. I'm gonna let you have it because you are not a fan of that pick 4 slot.
No, and I'll tell you what I'm thinking because I don't think many of my league mates watch the show.
Well.
Maybe they do, but
Don't tell anybody, Kyle.
Fourth pick is a horrible pick. Plus, we're a 14-team league, so I'll pick fourth, and then I'll pick again 24th.
Yeah.
And so you got to assume that Bijan Robinson and Jamar Chase are gone, and then likely Saquon Barkley will be gone. If Saquon Barkley was there, that's who I'd take. But most likely, I'm going to have to choose between Jamar Gibbs and CeeDee Lamb. And I'm leaning CeeDee Lamb because I think I can get good running backs in the second and third round, whereas you won't be any elite wide receivers left. But I'm also thinking, like, what if I took Christian McCaffrey?
I recommend against that, but
I probably won't, but, the way you win fantasy football leagues is to do something a little different than what every single preview and ranking, player ranking sheet tells you to do.
Yeah.
Because the season never ends with it matching up.
Yeah.
To what but with that first round pick, you really want to be safe. I don't think that's the round that you really take a chance. And to me, the safest pick is CeeDee Lamb, and I hate it because as a rule, traditionally do not draft Dallas Cowboys because I don't like them.
Although he gets a heavy workload, even with those backups last year.
Yeah,
He was just
stud.
10, 11 catches all the time, and then they even hand it off to him sometimes.
Hey, speaking of backups, not to hijack this, but it kind of remind me. Do you guys know where Cooper Rush is by chance this year?
I did for a second. I do know the answer to this question. It's
Is it Atlanta?
Nope.
Yeah, I don't know.
Baltimore?
It is Baltimore.
Oh my!
You didn't think that was
He's the
possible?
backup to Lamar?
Yeah. I didn't realize Cooper Rush was allowed out of the state of Texas.
Yeah, it is Baltimore.
Yeah.
Well,
Crazy.
We'll have to hope that Lamar Jackson stays healthy. But who would you guys take fourth pick of your fantasy draft? If Barkley, Bijan Robinson, and Jamar Chase were all taken.
I'd probably go Gibbs, but I'm not a fan of it. It feels weird.
I am a fan of Gibbs. I'd like to have Gibbs on my team, but I feel like if I took Gibbs, then 24 picks are
it's a long way.
Later, my number one wide receiver would be like, I don't know, maybe Drake London, which wouldn't be that bad, but it's not a stud.
Yeah, I would go CeeDee Lamb.
I think that's what I'm going to do, and it's just killing me that my number one guy is going to be a Cowboy because I hate the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, then they're
any other franchise in professional sports. I cannot stand the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah. That and I don't know. The Cowboys are an interesting team this year. We didn't say obviously a lot about them, but new head coach.
Every year,
a lot of but this year, if we look at it from the football element for them, it really feels like a crossroad type year.
Maybe they're having trouble with Micah Parsons, the heart and soul of defense, signing him.
And they also have psychopath George Pickens there now.
The worst part about if I do take CeeDee Lamb is then I'm going to be thinking I'm going to hold off a little bit on quarterback and then grab Dak Prescott too. And now all of a sudden I'm freaking got the Dallas Cowboys. So,
you got one hell of a predicament to be in that.
Well, if you do select him, and I hope this isn't a jinx, but another thing about Lamb is he doesn't miss any games. He's missed one game in his career.
Super safe, reliable stud.
1,000 yards every year the last 4 years.
Yeah.
His rookie year, he barely missed 1,000 yards.
Yeah, so that's who I'm probably taking.
I don't hate it. It just feels weird. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, you don't usually win your fantasy draft in the first round, but you can lose your fantasy league with a bad first round pick.
That's true.
Mostly, it's not even a bad pick. It's just the guy gets injured.
That's true. That was me last year with Christian McCaffrey, which is why I will recommend it forever and always now. Never taking Christian McCaffrey. Don't do it. I do not recommend it. So
anyways, that draft's Thursday night. I'll let you know next week who I took.
There we go.
and how the rest of the team shook out.
We are looking forward to the updates.
Another thing I've read quickly,
yeah.
Because I've been like just going back and forth over this for like 2 weeks, is our league starts 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex. So if we only started 2 wide receivers, Gibbs would be the better pick. But in leagues that start 3, you better get one of the top guys to anchor that. Otherwise you're And coming back down, I'm gonna get maybe I'll get Chase Brown at running back.
Brown's been getting picked a lot.
Maybe I'll get Hampton from San Diego. Maybe I'll get Bucky Irving.
There you go. Yeah.
Whereas, so I think I can go wide receiver, running back.
Yeah, I just think you have a lot of hope on the Chase Brown one because I've seen he's been taken super early. A lot of people are high on him.
14-team league.
Yeah. You pick defense too in that, right? Positionally speaking.
Yeah, but I usually wait till the 18th round to start picking my defense because you can get guys in the free agent draft that get tackles.
Yeah. There you go.
So it's a pretty wild league. 14 teams. We've been in the same league since 1996. Same owners. We started with 12 and we expanded 2, but nobody's ever left. It's the only league I'm in. One league.
Better get those 30th anniversary patches ready for next year then.
Yeah, that's true.
So, all right, we'll get out here on that note. So, Tuesday, 10 a.m. next week because of Labor Day here for Bills Weekly. Kyle, Jim, appreciate you guys as always. Appreciate everybody for listening and tuning in. Fingerlicks1.com is where you can find the podcast as well as the FO1 YouTube channel and all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Apple Music. Dismount went really well today. I apologize, everybody. So we'll see everybody next week. Let's go, Buffalo.